Hey and welcome to another episode. In this episode we will cover topic of company incorporation, or rather let's say giving your business a legal identity.
Now that it is decided to add a co-founder, the next question arises. What kind of legal entity do I form or incorporation of a company? 90% of the clients or prospective clients that we meet are not aware about the concept of separate legal identity. They come to us saying that, hi, I'm XYZ and I want to start my company. So our next question is, what kind of company are you looking for? The responses that we typically get are, if they are a small business owner, then it will be proprietorship. If they are a college grads, then they say LLP. But somehow both of them are not aware about the implications related to these types of entities. When you talk about proprietorship, there is no separate registration because a proprietor is same as an individual. There is no separate legal identity. So when I file my taxes, everything will go under my personal name because I'm a proprietor. So my business income and my other incomes, everything will be taken together for tax purposes. My business is not separate from me. Here, the risk, the liability that arises is the highest because, as I said, there is no difference between me and the business, the proprietor business. So in the event of loss, to fulfill the liability, personal assets will also be put to use. In the second case, where the client asks us for LLP, it is not because it is fancy, but because traditionally people, wherever we used to join hands to work together, they would form partnerships. Now, since the compliance was less and there was a separate entity created, which gave them separate PAN card, etc. In partnership also, partners are jointly liable. This is why when we talk about current scenario, clients have the same mindset that they want LLP since it enjoys the traditional status of separate legal identity, less compliance, and unlike traditional partnership which had unlimited liability, the LLP gives them limited liability. That is, in the event of loss, liability of each partner is limited. Now, while the LLP model works for some businesses, proprietorship works for someone else, it does not necessarily mean the same will work for you. Continuing our example from previous session, where Tom admits and promises to give Tim a share of 15%, they are also faced with the option of what kind of legal status do they want. Tom has planned to go big and target corporate clients and investors. He suggests that we go for a private limited company. Now, a private limited company goes further to limit the liability of its directors. Plus, it attracts investors. So now the Tim has two choices between an LLP and a private limited company. A private limited company is heavy on compliance but attracts investors, whereas an LLP is low on compliance and not ideal option for investors. So to reach to a base answer, Tim and Tom decide to evaluate each type of entity. This option. So option 1 is proprietorship. Since this gives unlimited liability and there will be no stake of Tim, this option is discarded. Second is partnership. This has low compliance, but the tax rate is of 30% plus cess. Also, this has joint liability of partners. So this option is also not acceptable to Tim and Tom. Third is of an LLP. This is considerably good option since it has limited liabilities, but the tax rate applicable is of 30% plus cess and not attractive to investors. Fourth option is of a private limited company. This option has limited liability, excess compliance, low tax rate ranging between 22 to 25%, and attractive to investors. So after discussion between Tim and Tom, they decide to go for a private limited in spite of the fact that it is high on compliance because it fulfills or meets the objective of the business that they are trying to achieve. So the basic point I'm trying to say is every business has different goals and objectives. Pick the type of legal entity that suits you the best. It can be either a proprietorship, partnership, LLP,